Hi, teammates. Welcome to the LiveWELL podcast, the podcast that connects you to all the topics to meet you along your well-being journey. I'm one of your hosts, Jen Collins.
And I'm Seth Christopher. Welcome to the Well.
Welcome, teammates, to another edition of The Well. How's it going, Seth? We're in a new month.
We are, and as always, not just a new month, but the best month to date. So we're really excited to be able to talk about today's topic and get into all things LiveWELL.
May is Mental Health Month, and LiveWell's goal is to raise teammate awareness about self-care and mental health and access to support resources. So this topic's super important. I think we've talked about mental health and resilience as a system for a long time now, given COVID and all the different things that teammates and everyone has been going through. But I like the theme that we've taken with this month being all about self-care. That's a different take than what we've discussed over the past couple of months.
And Jen, it's one that resonates with me personally. I've been in the health and wellness, well-being, fitness space for many, many years now. And I've always had a strong appreciation for healthcare workers and how their lives are dedicated to caring for others. And sort of the irony of it being that they never have time to care for themselves, and making the time to do that and finding ways to implement that when you spend your entire life giving to others and making a difference for those around you. Self-care is extremely important. I'm glad that we're focusing on it today because of those reasons.
Exactly. And, healthcare workers, parents, caregivers, we all have to make sure that our cup is full as well, because it does tend to become empty. And what better way to get that information than from the well?
That's right. Let's dig in.
All right. I bet you have some fast facts. But before you do that, I want to throw a quote at you. So I found this quote: "As you grow older, you will discover that you have two hands, one for helping yourself and the other for helping others." And that's from Maya Angelou. I just kind of thought that was neat.
I'm a bit partial to Maya Angelou, so that's a great one.
Great way to kick off. Give me some fast facts.
All right, let's talk about some fast facts. Fast fact: exercise and physical activity can positively impact your mental health and well-being. A recently published study in Lancet Psychiatry found physical exercise was significantly associated with self-report mental health burden. So things like anxiety, stress. So in this study, the researchers actually found that individuals who exercise had almost 45% fewer days of poor mental health over the study period compared to those who didn't exercise. So they also found that all types of exercise study were helpful at reducing mental health burden, even when those exercises or forms of physical activity like walking, gardening were performed at a low dose. Fast fact: exercise can reduce the risk of depression. In a 2018 study in JAMA Psychiatry, researchers aimed to understand the effects of exercise on major depressive disorder. And essentially, what they found is that the more people moved, the lower their risk for a major depressive episode. The big takeaway from the study authors was that some movement is better than no movement. A similar theme that you'll hear here at the Well, by doing a little bit more today than you did yesterday, doing a little bit more tomorrow than you did today. It all adds up, and it all does make a difference. And particularly, I grabbed on this statement since you got your quote. Let me pull one out for you here, Jen. So in a statement on the study for Harvard Health, the lead researcher had a profound and quite encouraging message. And what they said was, intentionally moving your body in more gentle ways throughout the day, like walking, stretching, taking the stairs, doing the dishes, can still add up in good ways for your mood.
I love that. So my first question is, you mentioned doing the dishes. So asking my kids to do the dishes, is that better for their mental health, or does it harm my mental health?
I think you're describing a potential win-win situation. So
Ah,
they're moving increases, their mental health. You get a sense of relief. The family's more connected. Everyone's fulfilling a role.
fabulous. I want to go back to your first fact because you mentioned gardening, and I want to just take a moment to pause on that. I don't know that a lot of people think of yard work and gardening as physical activity and exercise in the lens that we've talked about, but it 100% is. And when we put it under mental health and self-care, it really does resonate. So my grandmother was a huge gardener, and I can remember her saying that she just felt like her soul was filled when she was out playing in the dirt, seeing those plants bloom, and she would talk to her plants. She just found such great encouragement through gardening. And I love that you pulled that out.
Well, and it's interesting too, because as a society, we tend to harp in on, hey, people love to run, and that's totally fine. But running's not for everyone for a lot of different reasons. And the people that really stick to it and love that activity get a sense of euphoria. They get a sense of connectedness to their body as they're doing and performing the activity. Well, that same sense of euphoria, that same sense of connectedness to your own body, you can get that from other types of activity. And the long win here is creating a habit and finding something that keeps you active, that you really enjoy, whether it's gardening, whether it's finding ways to stay more active around the house and doing, I don't know if doing more dishes is necessarily the way, because ultimately we do want to get to that prescription. We do know that there are some best case scenarios when it comes to physical activity, like aerobic and weightlifting. But as a precursor to having a full program, you got to start somewhere. And these are great ways that have been shown to create that sense of connectedness, not just to yourself, but just to a greater sense of being.
So doing a little bit every day and finding what works best for you is what I hear. And I think we've done a really great job of building yet another case for leading an active lifestyle and making it personalized and individualized.
Take home is you've got to find something that works for you. And there's research to show that if you're sticking to it, or if you can find something that you enjoy, not only are you going to reap the benefits physically, but you're also going to have those impacts and positive impacts on your mental health and well-being.
Absolutely. Speaking of, are you ready to bust some myths?
Let's bust some myths.
These will be pretty simple. Myth number 1, self-care is anything that soothes you. Sounds pretty reasonable, right? However, I can't tell you how many times people have told me that they use streaming Netflix or Hulu, alcohol, video games, or snacking to, quote, relax. These habits are the opposite of self-care. The research suggests that self-care practices need to support health and wellness, and that we should shy away from activities that can be addictive or compulsive. Now, let's just make sure. So streaming Netflix and Hulu and playing video games, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it may not it may not be what we need for self-care. If we take a Sunday afternoon and we choose to binge watch some Netflix, that could be okay. But if we're doing that in place of gardening or taking care of our house or exercising, it may actually do harm instead of good.
Yeah, and I think the distinction you're drawing here, and probably in your research, Jen, is not so much that taking that time for yourself is necessarily the wrong way to do it. It's simply that continuing to do that and that being your only outlet can potentially increase your risk of being sedentary, which ultimately we know has the other associations that we talk about with long-term chronic conditions, et cetera. But I think the point here, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't necessarily that people, if you need to unplug from a 12-hour work shift and you have been hitting the wall all week and you just need to plug in and watch some of your favorite shows for a couple hours, puts you down at night, go for it, because that's what you need to unplug. I think what you're saying is more of that whole, if this is your only outlet and the only thing you do, let's maybe find some other ways to engage you in a way that's physically active.
That's it exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Myth number 2, self-care is selfish. I thought this was really important that we talk about. Have you ever thought about this? I know even myself, I have at times. The assumed thought is this: if I take time for myself, something will fall through the cracks, right? Have you caught yourself thinking that before? The truth is, self-care can be invigorating. By taking time to be calm and relax, you can have more energy and patience to tackle everyday activities and stressors. If you care deeply about your family or your patients, make sure you take time for yourself so that you can be at your best for them. So it's definitely not necessarily selfish at all. It actually can be doing the people you love, it can be doing them a service.
Yeah, this one stands out to me, Jen. This is something I have often battled with because, one of the first things to go when I'm fighting a deadline or when I am knee deep in a project, or now as a parent, I am trying to manage my responsibilities between all of my different roles. Usually the self-care piece for me, the activity, whatever I hope to do, it's out the window. And I often feel, looking back on it, I definitely regret it in a way, because it tells me that I haven't always done a good job of managing my priorities in my life. And I know everyone has their own circumstances and can probably identify in one way, shape, form, or fashion. So, what I hear you say is it's not selfish. It's important, an opportunity to basically reinvigorate yourself so that you can give more to those people, projects, places that you're at in your life.
That's right. Well, there's an old saying, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So it kind of goes back to that. I did a little deep dive too from Everyday Health, the website, just to give some people some ideas of things that they can do for self-care. Now, absolutely, we're going to talk in a minute about all the different activities that Atrium is offering, but some things that you can do right now. Prioritize sleep, exercise, as we have talked about, try a new workout. Check out our Toned Up Tuesday in our fitness streams, or take a ClassPass class. This next one, I love this. Get silly. Watch a black and white movie on YouTube for about 5 minutes just to take a breather. Play a game. Avoid mindless snacking. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So make sure we're eating intuitively. Reach for high protein snacks when you need an energy boost instead of high sugar. So if it's late in the afternoon and you feel like you're needing that little boost and you're feeling kind of dragging, choose a high protein snacks. There are some stress busting foods that you can keep on hand, like avocado, teas, dark chocolate, whole grain carbohydrates, bananas. I love that. I thought that was fun. Practice kindness and gratitude. Practice positive self-talk, which is huge. Meditate or have quiet time, and then listen to music, something that gets you going or relaxes you, whichever you need.
Those are some really nice tips, Jen. I also think that finding a way to disconnect, even for a few minutes, if you can, whether you're on the hospital floor, you've been seeing patients all day, whether you're in the doctor's office and you've been managing the books all day, or you're working at home and you're trying to balance being a mom, being a dad, working and trying to do all these other things. Sometimes it's just great to disconnect from all of that. If even for a few minutes, put the cell phone away, give yourself a chance to be present and connect with the moment. Take a couple breaths, observe the world around you, and then pick it back up. So that'd be the only one I'd add in there. But I actually think getting silly is probably the best way to do it. But that's my own personal opinion.
I love that. I have another quote for you. Love yourself first, and everything else falls in line. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world. And I found that quote from Lucille Ball. Speaking of getting silly. So I thought that was fun. And then one more from Mr. Rogers. Anything that's human is mentionable, and anything that is mentionable can be more manageable. When we can talk about our feelings, they become less overwhelming, less upsetting, and less scary. And I loved that since this is Mental Health Month. So that's part of our commitment, and our goal is to really be compassionate to ourselves, to our teammates, and just be open and allow ourselves to recognize our feelings and listen to our teammates.
And self-care goes a long way. I love the first one you said, love yourself first and everything else falls in line. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world. And I think about how we talk about self-care, and I know for a lot of people, it might not hit home quite as much because there's that mentality that we've probably grown up with, that taboo-ness of talking about your feelings and being vulnerable in a world where, you know, the less vulnerable typically get the most reward in any circumstance. And now, you know, with the way things have gone and the importance of going the other way and saying, hey, you know, connecting with yourself and getting in tune with your being and the things that drive you and the things that are good and bad for you, and then understanding and appreciating that others can do the same and giving them that space to both develop and grow. And you can do that by setting the example. You know, regardless of what you do, where you are, you can do that by being the example.
That's exactly right. Kindness, gratitude, positive self-talk.
This is a great conversation. You know, there's so much that's going to happen this month. I'm really looking forward to how LiveWELL and the Atrium and the enterprise as a whole is going to be supporting teammates and family members across this journey, not just in the month of May, but moving forward. So maybe let's talk a little bit about how that's going to go down. Jen, tell me a little bit about what's happening in LiveWELL this month.
There's so much happening. I have a lot here. So teammates, we want to kind of give you just an overview. This is by far not everything, but these are some of the highlights. So we've partnered with our EAP program, and they are going to be doing live webinars, Coping with Loneliness. You have two opportunities to join, May 10th at 2 p.m. and May 28th at 11 a.m. And these are both Teams links, which you can find on the resilience page or on the mental health page on the website. EAP also has digital tools through My Stress, which you can find that on the mental health page. Another activity we're doing, if you look on the resilience page, there's Make a Self-Care Plan. So this is a great kind of segue from what we've been talking about here. We're giving you moments to pause throughout the month. So there will be weekly guided meditation and then weekly Thrive in 5, which are quick mindfulness activities to add to your stress reduction tools. Those are done by Jill Ashburner, our teammate here at LiveWELL. And then we also are just promoting our meditation channel on Streams, which has a ton of different meditations ranging from 3 minutes to 10 to 15 minutes. So definitely look on there. Seth, one of the most exciting things is we have partnered with ClassPass, and we are doing a live stream yoga class from a real yoga studio in New York City.
Ooh, New York
That is
City.
going to Isn't that fun? They're going to be virtually right here in Charlotte, and the date is May 20th at noon. Register today. You can find the registration link on the resilience page that's found on the teammate site. Last but not least, Happy Nurses Month. May is Nurses Month. So make sure all you nurses that you tune in to the Teal Insider app for the dates and times and links to join all the wonderful activities that are planned for nurses this month. Whew, there's a lot going on.
You mean there's a lot happening, and there are a lot of different resources you went through. We're going to make those available for you. But this is going to be an amazing month.
Absolutely. The weather's going to be nice. We're going to be talking about self-care and mental health. It doesn't get better than this.
Today's topic, self-care, extremely important. There's a lot of great research to support taking care of yourself and giving yourself that time. But Jen, maybe wrap us up here. What exactly did we learn today?
So one of the things we learned is self-care is very important, and it's an extremely important part of well-being and overall health. The vaccine might be the end of the pandemic, but it's not the end of the problem. Teammates, make sure you check out the mental health and resilience page that's found on the teammate site. We also learned that Atrium and LiveWELL take Mental Health Month very seriously and have so many activities for teammates to connect and improve their mental space and learn how to self-care.
Yeah, and you've mentioned there's a ton of resources across the system for teammates to plug in for our resiliency. LiveWELL, we've got you covered as well. I love that the vaccine might be the end of the pandemic or the beginning in this context, but it's not the end of the problem. So if you need a moment, if you need help, reach out, ask someone. If you notice someone needs your help, offer it. Use the resources that are at hand. If you need more through LiveWELL, reach out. We certainly want to make sure that these are things that are being used because we know that there's a need. We all need it. So be sure to plug in and take advantage of all the great resources available and look out for new things to come in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. Our next podcast will be airing on May 11th. And we've been teasing this out. We will be sharing some exciting news about our podcast. Our financial series last month was so well received, Seth. It was just amazing to see the views on those podcasts. So I think there could be more where that came from. Teammates, make sure you tune in on May 11th to hear our exciting announcement.
Cha-ching. I'll drop another clue. Cha-ching. So we'll talk more about that in the next show. But once again, your clue is cha-ching. All right. Don't forget to visit the LiveWELL website for more info on managing stress, working with a LiveWELL health coach, and more information on connecting for resources that matter most to you.
Our resources are listed at the end of the show, and we'll add links to the programs discussed today in the comments on our Streams channel.
Looking for more things LiveWELL? Not following our Streams channel yet? Search the Well on Streams in Office 365 or find us on the LiveWELL website to access all our content.
Thanks for listening to The Well today.
Stay safe
and live well.